Welcome back to Event Advice by CrowdComms. I'm Will, the product director. As always, I'm with Matt, the managing director. Matt, today we're going to be talking about virtual events and are they coming to an end? Are they losing their impact? So let's just jump straight in and talk about that. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, there's lots of noise about virtual events and the fact that there's a big, demise of that event format, and they're a poor format for events. And so you do hear a lot about that, but you tend to hear it by people who have an agenda in some capacity. Yeah. So it's very difficult to not do that if you have an agenda where we want to have an in-person event, and so we're going to push the fact that virtual's dead. It isn't what we're seeing. We have definitely seen an increase in in-person events, which is probably our preference as a business, if I'm honest, so that we can sell in our hardware and support people on site. I mean, from a purely commercial perspective, that's our preference. But what we've seen is we can be very kind of agnostic. We can be very solution orientated because we have that full suite of kind of formats that we can support. If you focus purely on revenue, we are still doing 35% of our revenue will be associated to virtual or hybrid specific events. We've done 15 virtual events this week on the platform. So I think it's to say they're, did you use the word dead or am I making that up?
I might have alluded to it.
Okay, so I can answer very quickly, no, they are not dead. There are some businesses that are still using them and will continue to use them. What we've had to do, and the reason where they struggled is when people lost sight of what they were, the content length has shortened. So we do not want an hour webinar or virtual session. It just doesn't work. It's too long. So we have shorter sessions. We have decent breaks. We have networking collaboration built into it. And then there is a real focus on the quality of content. And if you do that, and you're able to reach a bigger audience because you're not restricted to having to get people to a specific venue, then there is always going to be value. The whole concept that virtual events were a post-pandemic or during pandemic thing, that COVID pandemic, is rubbish, because we were doing virtual and hybrid events beforehand. Yeah. So we're still doing them and we will continue to do them. Big corporates are going to continue to have them as part of their event landscape.
So you don't think companies that came out at the back of the pandemic that boomed during that time, you don't think that they're necessarily downsizing now? They're just shifting focus a little bit, maybe?
Both. Some of them are downsizing, some of them have gone. So there are lots of businesses that literally said, we are virtual events businesses. And they're not here any longer. We remained and will remain focused on delivering event technology, irrespective of format. And that gives you kind of the longevity, the kind of ability to continue providing solutions irrespective of what people are asking for. But some businesses, yeah, very much so struggled. So
the bits you touched on a moment ago, do you think that that is how to avoid, attendee fatigue, challenges in engagement, keeping people on board during the virtual event, things like that?
Yeah, I think, our job as a virtual platform is to make it easy for them to access the material. Give them a way to engage with that material and keep it as simple as possible in as aesthetic a way as possible, okay? That's our responsibility. It's relatively easy what we're here to do, isn't it? And software is never easy, but it's relatively easy. We have to completely understand that our place in it is very simple. The important part is the quality of the content. So people that failed at virtual events failed at understanding that they had to spend as much time on that virtual content as they did on the in-person content. Content is the driver here. We are just a vehicle for delivering content. We are a vehicle for facilitating conversations, a meeting, a session content, learn something about a business, make a connection. That's what we're here to do. The content is the key bit. And if you remember that, it doesn't matter what event format is.
Yeah, and it's us, making sure that the tech performs, making sure that it's there and it's robust and it's reliable and it's there when you need it.
Press button, it works.
Yeah. So if virtual events, well, we agree that they're not struggling, but the in-person tech, what's booming in the in-person market?
So all the figures we have suggest that the in-person events that we do are back to pre-pandemic levels, okay? So we are seeing viewing numbers, delegate numbers. Lots of the trade shows we go to are bigger than they've ever been before. So there is a boom. People still understand that events are important. And for all of us in the events industry, that's critical, isn't it? Because that's why we're all here. They understand that getting people together is important. And we are seeing events grow. Yeah. We're seeing people be strategic with their events, though. So a big in-person trade show, maybe 7 or 8 smaller road shows, and then a webinar series that support it and bring that community together. So they're just being more strategic in terms of how they deliver that content, bring people together, but keep them connected in between with a webinar series.
So really good hybrid, really.
Really good hybrid, yeah.
Yeah. So if virtual events aren't dead and they are, just as viable as they ever were, and we want people to use them in the right way, why do you think they are so popular? Why are virtual events so popular?
Well, let's look at cost efficiency. So it's unavoidable to forget or to ignore the fact that a virtual event is a fraction of the cost to run as an in-person one. And during the pandemic, people were saying, well, it's still, it can't be, it's still going to cost 50 or £100,000 to do this virtual event. It doesn't have to. A platform doesn't have to cost a huge amount of money. They need to be quick and easy to set up. The focus should be on content. Yes, they require management, but manage that content, prepare your speakers, create great assets for the presentations, bring on board a great speaker. Now, the reason they boom, another reason they boom, because of that cost efficiency, I can get the best possible speaker from the other side of the planet to log in and to present to an audience. I can save myself £5,000 on, assuming they fly first class, a huge amount of money, let's say, on transportation by not having to bring them here. And it enables organisers to say, okay, well, I've got 5 really good speakers from the UK that are coming into London to talk, but there are 5 better speakers, one in India, one in the US, one in China, and let's get them together because they are the genuine experts in their field. So it gives us an opportunity to spend our money in a different way to elevate that content, which is going to be beneficial for that end audience.
And
That's
more sustainable.
And more sustainable. Sustainability. So many people say they care and so many I feel don't, which is probably a difficult thing to say, and I apologise about appearing so negative, but sustainability, if it isn't a genuine driver now, it is going to be. And so having it as part of your format is really key. And we're seeing clients make that decision every day, choosing to have an element that is virtual, a series that is webinar based, rather than bringing everyone together 15, 20 times throughout the year.
And it's more accessible as well for those who, the sustainability element is people can't necessarily, they don't want to travel to the event or they can't travel to the event. The accessibility thing's just as important as sustainability, isn't it?
Well, something that is not discussed often enough is the increase in female attendance of virtual events as opposed to in-person events. Wow, okay. So that increasing the ability of people who are very busy and have family commitments. Yeah. We do, yeah. But I go away quite often. And it's my wife who's stuck at home,
the wife that,
looking
absolutely.
after my children. So her ability, just to give the prime example, which is my wife, that it was very difficult for her to go away for 3 or 4 days to the Birmingham event that she used to attend, an industry event, or there's one in Florida. It was challenging because I was often away as well. Now, it was much more straightforward for her to log in and attend that event and make sure she got her CPD. So giving people the opportunity to gain their accreditation from a training perspective, we've seen loads of learning and development platforms which have remained webinar based because you enable people to get that certification, better accessibility and better cost efficiency.
So it's not just the short virtual events, it's longer term, we're seeing longer term platforms.
Yeah, we've seen lots of learning and development. We're seeing businesses use virtual webinar or virtual as a way of reducing attrition in their staff as well. So you enable people to look at a resource library, drop into a webinar to find out about different roles. If I'm in a big business, and we work with lots of big businesses, and I'm looking at different things, having a platform that enables me to discover those roles, to jump in and talk to someone, to have a meeting, to join a webinar about a different department, so that I reduce, we get better stickability of employees in organisations is a huge commercial benefit and cost efficiency benefit. So we're seeing people do it in a variety of different ways. Big, long-term platforms, day conferences, 20-minute drop-in webinars. But it's about making sure that the content's quality, you give people a break, and you keep sessions short.
So you talk about content quality. What are some of the elements that make a great virtual experience? You know, are we talking about production values? Are we talking about interactive elements? What are we looking at?
All of the above. So I think having that quality of content, good content, even presented poorly, is better than poor content presented well. So we're not doing the difficult bit. The difficult bit is making sure you've got really good content. But we can elevate that good content with high production quality. With people who can come in there and have, it sounds so simplistic, good stingers, good camera angles, good audio, really slick, well put together PowerPoint presentations, and not death by PowerPoint, but good supporting documentation that go with that presentation. So the production piece is great. The engagement piece, that interactive element as well, letting people feel like they were listened to. And then looking at some of the things that we've done, I don't want to go too far into our technology per se at this stage, but enabling people to share moments, that was one of our big things, wasn't it? Yeah, huge. We talked about the kind of isolation of watching it from home. At home and alone, we talked about a lot, didn't we, when we were developing different features?
We saw a big increase in people wanting technology that were more like watch parties. So it wasn't just logging in to watch a webinar on your own at home. It was watching it with colleagues. It was having little breakouts with teams while it's going on. Being able to dip in and out. It's things like that, isn't it?
Lots of people. We built. I think it's a great. Well, the product that you led on, our networking product, where you joined your peers. We streamed content in. You could watch it together. You got that live feedback. You could turn to someone and go, "That was really interesting," and that was a great product. And loads of my clients and people around me said, "You're kind of done now. That now we haven't got COVID. You're not going to use that." Yeah. It was used 15 times this week. Yeah. It's still being used. So I will judge whether virtual events are dead based on the revenue that's coming in for it. And at the moment, it's still a significant component of our business.
So why should you consider virtual events, just to wrap things up?
So I think consider them as part of your event portfolio. Consider them when you want to make sure you've got the biggest possible reach, so accessibility. If you've got 200 people that can attend in person, there might be 300 if you open it up to a remote audience. So give yourself the opportunity to increase your reach. Don't be afraid about cost, because we can do this cost effectively. With our support, we can do this cost effectively from a production and a platform perspective to enable you to touch that wider audience. And I think just be mindful that there is obviously a huge sustainability impact as well. It is a green way of delivering content. And then, as we keep coming back to, content is king.
Wonderful. Okay, so thank you very much for watching Event Advice by CrowdComms. Remember to like and subscribe down below if you can, and we'll see you next time.